Hello, how are you today? For those of you that this is the first time you've ever catched me on a Facebook Live, my name is Steve Kidd. I am a third generation minister, an international best-selling author. I'm actually working on finalizing my 20th book, and I've got about 4 or 5 others in the mix. More importantly, I've helped thousands of authors reach the millions of people that their books have reached to make the difference and the impact that they can make in the world. I've been a marketing professional literally since I was 5. So at 55, that means for 50 years now. And I have been so blessed to have the opportunity to help people find that thing that feels like it's impossible. I love nothing more than the moment when the cloud has not just silver lining, but it's actually silver with cotton candy on it. I love being able to show people the possibilities and the up level and the potential in the things that seem the most impossible, to bring to light that thing that feels undaunting. It feels impossibly overwhelming and help them get to their next level. And I love adding value to your life. I love being here with you. I've done so many Facebook Lives, and it's been kind of hit and miss, and I kind of apologize for that because every day I want to do one. There's pretty much not any days that go by that I'm not thinking to myself, I'd like to go on and talk to the people and see if I can encourage them. I could give you lots of reasons, but really, it doesn't really matter. Each time I do it, I want you to know how much I appreciate it. And of course, with the radio show that's been in, for more than 7.5 years now, I love bringing guests to you and sharing with you and pouring into your life. I love having that place here in your life, adding value to you, helping you out, giving. That's easy for me. Now is when I'm being pressed harder and harder to be vulnerable as well. And that's not an easy one. I feel like I told all of this in the write up, but for those of you who don't want to read, I'll go through it again quickly. As I said, I am a third generation minister, meaning that both my grandfather, my mother's dad, and my father were pastors, as well as I worked both in and out of church in different ministry types of services. And I would even go so far as to say that even working as a marketing professional since 1988, most of what I've done has really been an extension of the ministry that I do. One of the ladies that I was working for, I was technically a 1099 contractor at her company, and she often used to joke that she should change the name on the door. The name of her company was Granite Distributing, and she said that she should change it to say Granite Distributing and Steve's Counseling Service. Not because I was, charging people for therapy or things like that, but just because I was the person in the office that people knew they could go to, that they could talk to, and that I would legitimately listen and help them. And almost always have something that they could tangibly do that could make it better, make it different, that it could up-level them, that could give them help and change. And it wasn't just a matter of being preachy. I know a lot of us have ran into people who they're stuck in REV, not for reverse, but for reverend, I mean, everything they do is so deeply spiritual that it doesn't really have a lot of earthly value, is what we've sometimes said about that. I hope that in everything that I do, that it's more and more about being valuable to you than anything else. I want you to know being valuable to you comes naturally to me. Giving is easy, has been all of my life. Now, the harder thing, the much more difficult thing, is being vulnerable. You see, I was raised, as I said, in a pastor's home. And as the pastor's family, we were on display. Felt like we were on display 24/7, and pretty much we were. But especially when you talk about Sunday at church, you put on clean clothes. Didn't matter how poor you were, you had to look like you were flowing and fit in the community. A lot of people don't think about it, but typically speaking, churches, especially when you start talking about, your typical Midwest, um, you know, Protestant type of churches, they tend to be in nicer neighborhoods than what the pay rate is for. We'll just leave it at that. And so you were expected to be at the level of what the people attending were at to put on that kind of a presence, even though the truth of the matter is, I wonder how many of you, if you knew that after church, the pastor was going to go home to a house that had very little food in the house, and that the good outfit that the mother worked so hard to keep clean on Sundays and chased the boys home and told them not to roll around in the dirt like boys do. I have two older brothers. But to keep that potentially often only one good outfit clean and mended, it was a full-time job for a mom just to be able to present her family in that fashion that we were supposed to look. And so we went to church. We looked the part, and perfection was kind of expected of us. You couldn't go in really and say, hey, you know what? My family doesn't have any food. We were never really there where we told people, hey, thank you for the generous Christmas gift that you gave us. Because frankly, there are no presents under our tree. And had you chosen not to, which was totally your right, there wouldn't have been any presents this year at Christmas. I grew up thinking shopping on Christmas Eve was fun. And it was. I had a blast at it. I'm not complaining at all. I had a great childhood. I have wonderful parents. But the truth of the matter is that rushing around, finding things on a limited budget on Christmas Eve day or a couple of days before, because you don't usually typically get that money. There's a money tree or an envelope or something that you do for the pastor. And then it's after he gets that, but that's the Sunday right before church. Hopefully Christmas doesn't fall on a Sunday and it doesn't end up being a situation where the money doesn't get given until that day. Because then it might be, more like a Boxing Day Christmas, where on the 26th, we're all going to go out and buy each other presents because, on Christmas, we're celebrating the birth of Jesus. And by the way, we have church anyway. And so, it's just the nature of it. And it's some of that behind the scenes things that we don't usually talk about as pastors' families. So what I learned from that was a level of lack of vulnerability because it wasn't wanted, needed, or expected. And that's been reinforced, that perfectionism, throughout the course of my life. I struggled, I suppose I really actually do still struggle with feeling like I have to be perfect. And if I miss it at all, that people don't really like me. If I'm vulnerable, especially if I tell people, hey, I'm hurting and struggling, it's been a really rough time. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody needs that. And that's not what I'm supposed to do. To be, a child of God, blessed of the Father, all of those kind of things that we say. And all of those are absolutely true, don't get me wrong. But additionally to that is the truth. It's the reality of the fact that sometimes we're hurting. And I've gone through a lot these last 2.5, almost 3 years now. When Kathy told me that she didn't want to be married anymore, I was shocked. And I don't want to go into all of that, but it's been, a difficult time. And many of you are like, Kathy and you aren't married. When did that happen? Because I didn't tell anybody. That's just not how I show up in the world. And Mocha and I moved here into our little apartment, and we've gotten by, and we've tried many things, and some of them haven't worked, and they've been investments. in the business that, looking back on, it's like, oh, I wish I hadn't done that one. But they haven't had the returns that were promised, and it's really difficult sometimes. And I've really struggled. I just have to be that brutally honest with you. I hope you'll still love me being this truthful. And in all of that, I didn't feel like I was released to leave California. And I do feel like now it's time to go. And I've even shared with you on a Facebook Live. I feel called to move eastward from here, but I don't really know where I'm going. And money's tight. It's been probably one of the worst June and Julys ever. In fact, really, not that the two connect to each other completely, though there are some emotional aspects to that. The passing of my father on February 13th of this year has had a drastic and major impact on me, and it's definitely shown up in the bottom line of the money that I have available. I'm proud of the fact that I was able to keep 4 people employed to some extent throughout all of COVID, but the truth of the matter is I filed unemployment. I've been receiving assistance from the state and the county on some of my own stuff because I wanted to make sure that the people that work for me are well taken care of and that my clients get the best, meaning that it costs a lot of money. Now, I'm not here to beg you for money, although if I've offered value to you and you want to donate, sponsor, contribute to my trip, I did create a website, and I've shared that before. It is I Am Thriving Today. That's the letter I, the letter M, thrivingtoday.com. And you can go there and participate at any level you want to. Maybe you want to give $5, or maybe you want to give $500,000. Maybe you want to, because God's blessed you, you want to be like, look, Steve, I want you to get to where you're going, and I want you to buy a house and have a life that you haven't had, not really ever, because you've been a big giver, and because whenever money's been there, you've helped. I've helped single parents and other charities that I support throughout all of this difficult time. There's been times when I've made sure others had food in their house when I myself was eating, like ramen noodles, because that's where my heart is and that's who I want to be. I'm not complaining. I'm just simply trying to be as vulnerable as I possibly can in a very terrifying way, because it's not in my nature to tell you these kind of things. It's in my nature to show up in my nice shirt that I changed into just to be able to do this, rather than, the t-shirt that I was wearing a few minutes ago, to have a big smile and to just tell you how wonderful you are and how great you are, because I love telling you how amazingly incredible you are. That's easy. That's something fun for me to do. But to be honest, to share my gut with you, to share my heart and my soul and my torment with you, the loneliness of my soul and all that I've been through, that's not easy. I don't do it because it's fun. I'm not here because I'm begging, but I am here because I feel very much strongly that it's time to be really real. Now, there are many of you out there who have wanted to work with me, and I would love to help you in any way that you can, whether it be an hour conversation. By the way, I've reduced my rate right now just to help people out. I want to have conversations with people while I'm driving. Be my driving buddy and let's up-level you. I've changed it to be an hour for $197. I usually charge $1,000 an hour for those kind of consulting calls. But I want to be here to help. And if you've been wanting to get that book marketed to bestseller, have we got that for you. We could do that in as little as a week to 10 days. You could be a best-selling author with a book that you already have out. And I would love to do that for you. And I promise I'll meet or beat any price I've ever given you ever in the past. I think I can say that. There's a few prices that I'm thinking of from when we very first started it that I might not be able to do that with, but for the most part. Same is true if you want to get your book done. Let me give you an amazing price. Let me add value to your life. As I vulnerably tell you, I have needs financially myself too. And if you've been on the fence waiting, wondering when the right time is, how about now? It would help me out, and I promise me and my staff will help you out. There will be no break in the schedule. Even as I'm driving, I've got people in place that will be working while I'm driving. And much of what I do is pretty much phone related anyway. And I can do all of that while I drive. And then when I stop for the night, I will spend whatever time I need to. And if I need to pull off to the side of the road to do a project for somebody, I absolutely will do that. I'm here for you completely. This move isn't me taking a vacation or checking out of work or any of that kind of thing. It's just simply finally feeling released to go for and hope for something better than what's been for the last few years. To refresh my own soul, to be more than what I've been so that I can be more valuable to you. Now, I'm sorry if this extreme vulnerability and absolute transparent honesty is too much. I understand. I had somebody send me an email yesterday. It was a little bit of a scathing email. And that's fine. I'm not asking you to just send me money willy-nilly. I'm asking you that if you feel led to work with me, or if you just feel like you would like to help, I would appreciate that. And if my being this kind of vulnerable is off-putting to you, perhaps maybe that's a good sign that maybe we're not a good fit. Not because I won't love to continue to give you valuable, lifelong information. I love doing that. And I'm not in any way asking you to go. But if this offends you and you do, I really still just encourage you to be the best you can be while it's called today. To make the difference that only you can make in this world. And on behalf of the whole of the universe, thank you for who you are in this world. I hope every single one of you knows how much I care for you, how deeply in my thoughts, my prayers, my hopes, my wants, my wishes, and my dreams for you, you are. I hope you know that and feel that I don't just say you're uniquely brilliant. I don't just tell you that you were created for a purpose and that the world needs you. I believe it at the heart and soul and core of my being. And I want you to know and feel that love. And if I've added value to you, and if in my vulnerability that I can't believe I'm doing, but it's out here live now, if there's a way you want to help, whether that be prayer or financial sponsorship, or you're finally ready to work with me, whatever that might be, I look forward to talking to you. Anytime you want to get on the phone with me, I always give 15 minutes for free. Go to AskSteveKid.com, schedule that time. We can talk about anything you want to. I'm here to help you. I will always continue giving. Thank you for listening. Thank you for accepting me as who I am with all of my flaws. I appreciate you. I hope that you have an amazingly great